Reserve Podcast. Jason Bell and Hard Money Bankers, Ian Horowitz, Equity Warehouse. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. Got a very special guest that we're going to introduce in a second. If this is your first time tuning in, watching, listening, viewing, thanks. We're going to keep this very informational. We're also going to keep this very fun. We like to bring in guests that are actually actively involved in real estate and real estate investments and business. And they're on the front lines every day doing so. If you're a return viewer, follower, listener, watcher, thanks again for all the support. We certainly couldn't do it without you.
Yeah, no, it's always good to be back in the studio, cranking these out. I know we got, I was watching the Open. Every time I watch the Open, I'm like, man, we need to do some update videos on some of the properties, where they stand, what that's looking like. But guys, like Jason said, we bring in real people who are doing real deals. We don't care about the likes or subscribes. We care about the shares. It's the best compliment we can give our guest. I promise you, you're going to learn something today. Actually, before the show started, Jason and I started to learn something from today's guest. So we're super excited about that. If you guys get any value out of this, please share the show. With that being said, it's not about us, it's about our guests. So let's bring in Brett Swarts. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Ian and Jason, grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. It's good to see. So a friend of mine moved to St. Augustine Beach. When he moved there, he's about our age. I figure we're all in the same age group. And he's like, dude, I moved to St. Augustine. It's all old people. There's nobody to hang out with. So now I can tell him I found someone in our age group that he can go meet up with and hang out.
Yeah, I guess so, man. We got 5 kids and I'm married all these years. And so I'm mostly hanging out with my kids and my family these days. And, and then I can see what he means by that, depending on what age he's at and where he's at. But I'm also new here. I've only been here for 2 years. I'm originally from California. So it's, good point. When he figures that out, maybe I'll hang out with him because, we haven't really pressed that either.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a beautiful part of the country. If you haven't been, you guys should go check it out. But Brett, why don't you tell everybody, not so much where you live, but why don't you tell everybody what you do? And we'll start peeling back the layers here because I think there's going to be really good information. Yeah,
my life mission now is to steward capital to multiply freedom and impact for MVPs. And so we focus like a laser with capital gains tax solutions to do that. I'm the founder of this company, and really it started out at a place where the 2008 crash, we saw friends and family and clients lose half or all their wealth because they did a lot of these 1031 exchanges that can be your friend and then it can be your worst enemy. And they found out the hard way for overpaying for properties, too much debt, not enough liquidity or diversification, not able to get into places like with Jason, like the hard money lending where you're getting double-digit returns, and they're stuck in these negative arbitrage situations now, especially with interest rates where they're at. But at that time, they thought the music would stop until it did, and then they lost half or all their wealth. And so we said, there's got to be a better way to all of this. And so we've dedicated our focus and our practice to basically unlocking capital gains to multiply freedom and impact and giving the entrepreneur or the real estate investor flexibility with time. And that's the biggest thing. The one thing we can never get back, right, is the timing of investments and the flexibility to make great decisions. And so that's essentially what we do. So it's a business owner, Bitcoin owner, real estate, any asset of any kind. It can just needs to have a large enough gain. We like to deal deals that are $1 million and above.
So I think a lot of people have heard of 1031 exchanges. Some might have heard of Delaware Statutory Trusts, Deferred Sales Trust, which also happens to be DST. Personally, is new to me. I'm curious to learn a little bit about that. And I think a lot of our viewers and our watchers probably do the same. Is there like a real quick, in a nutshell, comparison difference? 1031, Delaware Statutory Trust, Deferred Sales Trust, a quick spiel of like pros and cons of each.
I'll give my quickest spiel, right? Blockbuster versus Netflix. You show up to Blockbuster on a Friday night, you got to take your movie back in 3 days. If you don't have the movie, you gotta get a different movie and you gotta rewind it. The DVD is scratched. That's like a 1031, right? You have 45 days to identify. You're basically in a box. You can only do like kind investment real estate for like kind investment real estate. You also have to replace equal or greater debt. And this is the biggest downfall when you're selling high and buying in a high market, right? And this is where we're seeing the ships sink, and because people are in what's called, bad debt at this point, right? And it's frustrating, right? It's the worst thing when your operations are going fine. Insurance has gone up some, but it sinks the ship. Well, that's what the 1031 is, such a broken vehicle if all you ever think about tax deferral and exiting real estate is with a hammer. Now, can you hit a hammer with a nail and crush it and keep doing great? Yeah, you can. Do I love 1031s when they make sense? Absolutely. Like, this is how we built my wealth with my family, and my family growing up was real estate development and basically continue to tax defer investments. But at a certain point, you're like, it doesn't make any sense. And this is where the Deferred Sales Trust comes in, because now we want to get debt out of debt. We want to get diversification. We want to get time on our side. So we say, like, the Deferred Sales Trust is like Netflix. There's no late fees. There's no like-kind replacement requirement. There's no debt replacement requirement. You can go to any asset of any kind. And here's the key: at any time. There's no 45-day 180. Right now, there are ongoing fees. Yes, that's what we get paid for. We get as a trustee, we get paid ongoing fees. But it changed people's lives. The Delaware Statutory Trust is just like the Hollywood video down the street, guys. It's just a structured 1031, no liquidity, no diversification, super high fees, right around 5% returns, which doesn't change people's lives, right? Our deferred sales trust, we're typically returning 8, 9, 10+% compounding rate of return net of fees. And that's really the difference here, right? We unlock what's called truly passive income in a flexible, diversified type of investment strategy, tax deferred, whereas the 1031, you're still in those other 2 to 3 quadrants with Robert Kiyosaki, right? You're still in that active ownership. Now, our strategy, you can still be active. We have lots of entrepreneurial clients, so I don't want to paint us into a box either. What's cool about our strategy, you can go back into real estate at any time, tax deferred. You can go to a business venture. You can, Jason, if you did it for your own sale, you could put the money back into your own debt fund, all tax deferred, right? And that's the beauty. Like, it doesn't just put somebody in a passive position. They can still be an active entrepreneur, which is what we want to be.
Okay. All right. Deferred sales trust. So it sounds great on paper. Now let's start to unwind it. And I think I've heard this described in a different way, and I'll remember the name here in a minute. So on the deferred sales trust, talk to us about what we're doing here. I have property 123 Main Street. I sell it. I come to you and I say, Brett, I don't want to pay taxes. What am I doing here?
It's simple. It's an installment sale with the trust. Like, what is the essence of how this thing works, right? Just keep it super simple. Forget all the acronyms. Jason and Ian and everyone listening, you may know what's called a seller carryback, right? Where you can become the bank for a buyer, right? And in this scenario, you are deferring the tax in which you don't receive. So as an example, Jason has a $10 million apartment complex in Taxifornia, okay? He's got zero basis and he's willing to sell it. No debt. He's got it free and clear. But he's like, I don't want to be crushed with, $3.7 million of tax. It's 37%. So instead, he says, I will finance Ian. Ian's the buyer, right? But here's the reality. Ian can put $1 down payment and Jason could carry 100% financing, basically 99.9%. Guess what? Jason's only paying tax on that $1. So you pay 37 cents on that dollar, Jason, basically, right? On that other amount, it's all deferred. Okay. And Ian owes back that basically 10 million. We'll call it at 9% interest rate, right? And we'll make it a 5-year balloon payment, with interest only payments for the first 2 years, whatever, however you want to structure that. That's all we're doing. Here's the difference with the deferred sales trust, right? We say, Ian, we're not going to finance you. Okay. You come with your 10 million bucks. I don't care how you get your money, through a lender or cash, doesn't matter. We're not financing you, but we will ask you to cooperate with the trust. And so the trust jumps in right between Ian and Jason. And it says Jason's going to sell it to the trust on a 100% installment sale, and the trust is going to sell to Ian the exact same time. So simultaneous close. So watch this, guys. Ian, if the trust bought it for 10 million and sold it for 10 million, how much gain does it have? Zero. And if Jason has not received even $1 at closing, how much tax does Jason owe on zero in the given year? Zero. He's in a deferral state. Now, here's what it gets really cool. The money hits Charles Schwab. The buyer's gone. You're gone, Ian. You got the property. Jason's excited because guess what? Jason has a hard money lending fund where he's making 10, 12, 15, maybe 20%, right? He's doing phenomenal. And he's like, gosh, I just had an ROE on my property of 3 to 4%, right? And now I've moved this, deferred all of the tax, and I can put it into my own fund. I can put it, with Ian on a couple of his deals. I can put it into NVIDIA stock. I can buy some Bitcoin. I can diversify this wealth strategically, dollar cost average it. and I'm probably going to double or triple my cash on cash return. And this is where everything changes that I think for my clients. I have a deal like this, Warren and Catherine, $2.5 million sale in Sacramento, California. I'm a multifamily broker by trade. We sat down and said, what means most to you? What's the most meaningful thing for you? And they said, we want truly passive income. I said, what does that mean for you? They go, we don't want to think about toilets, trash, or termites. In fact, they had 2 twin daughters, and they said, we want to spend time with them. They had kids a little bit later in life, and the kids were getting closer to 18. So they said, well, how do we get rid of the property without having to trade 15 units for 30 units? They didn't have multi-million-dollar troubles. They had the millions. They had the time that was being pulled away from them, right? And so we traded those 3 T's, toilet, trash, and termites, for their twin daughters, more time with their twin daughters, right? And that's what we're getting at here. Like, we want to create transformational exit plans for people so they can not only increase their cash on cash return. By the way, we went from 120 to 190 for them, but we want to give them flexibility to diversify their wealth and ultimately spend time on what matters to them the most.
Yeah, I got about 800 questions. Go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead. I mean,
I don't even know where to be. I mean, I don't even know where to begin.
Start?
Right? Yeah, I mean, the first one would be, if you're in a partnership, right? Jason's invested in some of our deals. We have 20, 30 capital investors plus the sponsors. We sell it, we make $1 million, and in a 1031 situation, you would all have to more or less move to the next deal. I know there's workarounds and whatever else, but we would all have to move to the next deal. In this situation, if Jason wants to do the deferred statutory trust here, or I forget what it was called. Can he do it, and then I can do my own thing, or does everybody?
Absolutely. Let me walk you through that. But absolutely, but it all depends. Let me give you a couple scenarios, okay? So David Sloan is an example. He owns $120 million worth of multifamily properties. He's a GP with his partner, Jordan. They have a bunch of LPs. Their first deal they did with us was the $20 million sale in Las Vegas. And they took their GP positions and they assigned the interest to a trust. We have one trust for Jordan, one trust for David, right? So a separate trust, and then their interest, instead of paying them and being taxed, went to their trust, and the trust issued them a promissory note. The LPs all just paid their tax, right? And that's what we typically do for most deals, especially if they're less than $1 million, although we've done some a little bit less than that. We did an example. We did 6 exits with them over the years. This is over the last number of years. And one of the exits, one of the LPs had a $3 million position. And so we did it for the LP, okay? So we call this a seamless partnership separation. So Ian, what you're referring to is what's called the whole entity must move, which typically means all of the investors must say yes. There are some swap and drops, some different things there, but those are very clunky, and typically a lot of people don't do them. So in our scenario, you can do that. I'll give you another scenario. We had a $13 million exit in San Diego for a car wash. Now, these clients, there was 4 clients. One of them was like a 5% owner. He just paid his tax. The other 3 had substantial gain, right? About a $4 million basis, 13 exit. So we set up a trust for each of those partners. And they're not commingled with each other. They can do their own thing with whatever they want to do, right? And then we deferred all of their tax. One of those clients put a big portion into Bitcoin at $40,000 a coin, and it went up to, I think it was $120,000 over the weekend, right? This is the kind of cool stuff that you can do, but most of it actually went into a hard money lending fund that returned excellent returns.
So, okay, I'm gonna back up one second, Ian. Just to paint this picture with crayons as like a 5-year-old. So step 1, I guess the term's transfer, not sell into the trust. You are selling it. You can be you're selling your interest. You're assigning your interest. You are selling to a third-party trust. By the way, I'm a third-party trustee, right? Yep, and okay. It's kind of like if you sold into the 1031, the funds go to a third-party qualified intermediary, right? So you're not transferring it to your own trust. That's taxable, right? You're selling it to a third-party trust in exchange for a promissory note. You're becoming the creditor, right? Yep. And the trust owes you the money, but the trust never goes into anything that you don't approve of, right? Or you wouldn't already have gone into. And the government charges you 0%, Jason, on the first 10 million for a married couple per calendar year and of deferral. And so the question is, do you want to wait? When would you ever want to pay a 0% interest loan from the government back if you could just make money off of all of that, right? Yeah, so that's kind of fun. Now back to you. I'm sorry. I had to just get that out because most people are missing that piece. All right. So transfers to the trust for 0 consideration, and then I'm guessing there's rules of what the repayment terms are and interest rate.
Sells to the trust for fair market value of what a third party buyer would already be paying for.
Fair market value. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever the buyer's already lined up. If the deal doesn't close, if the buyer doesn't close, the deal doesn't close, right? So this is all option language that's built in. It's a simultaneous close. So it's not like you're just selling it to trust to hang out and try to find a buyer. Yeah.
Let's use the $1 million range then. $1 million, because that's an easy number to kind of go off of. Okay. So let's say Ian wants to buy a property from me for $1 million.
Okay.
I'll assign transfer for $1 million to the trust first. The trust sells it to $1 million to Ian. Okay. So now I have $1 million. Let's assume this is free and clear, right? Like you said. So I have $1 million in this trust. The trust pays me personally interest. You use the term 9%. I don't know if that's what the law is.
It could be 8, 9, 10. We've done a couple at 11 and 12. So, but yeah.
And then obviously, I'll pick up tax.
Yeah, you pay 1099 interest on the interest.
I'll get earned income through interest dividend on
but
that.
You can also delay that for a couple of years too, move to a new state and get some good tax efficiency there too.
And then the point of these trusts, is this a forever trust thing, or is there a timeline on these trusts?
Good question. So we have a 1.0 and a 2.0. 1.0 version are typically 10 years with a balloon payment due in 10 that you can renew for every 10 years for 10 years. You can pass to your kids and your kids can step into your shoes and continue to go. But it's very flexible. You may want to get out sooner, or you might want to do a shorter note. It's really up to you. It's your money, right? When do you want it? And we schedule that, but we can amend the note over the term to either accelerate or decelerate the payment or the payout.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Just say, and I'm guessing based on who that individual is, and either if they need a big lump sum or if they have, I don't know, another loss or exit or something where they can absorb the taxes at that point.
It's a great point, Jason. Yeah, they might have like a loss in a couple of years, so like $1 million, right? And all of a sudden, that same year, we could schedule a payment out of the trust for that same million, and it could offset in that same year. Granted, that interest that's accrued first must be paid out first. We kind of get a little bit technical here. So if you had accrued interest that wasn't paid first, that has to be paid out first, and that's not going to be necessarily offset by the loss.
Got it. So I guess I'm just trying to think through this as we're talking. So the real estate holding's already gone, can the trust? I guess the trust uses that money and invests, like you said, and can buy other real estate with it, or? Oh yeah, most of our real estate clients do, right? They use it as a joint venture partner on the side, a silent partner to help fund their next deal. They put it into passive real estate. They put it into passive, debt funds. Really, it's what do you want to do, Jason? We had a client. We did a $17 million billboard exit out of California. He put a big, huge chunk of that into NVIDIA stock like 3 years ago, and NVIDIA stock has gone like this. It's honestly, this is why you never go back to Blockbuster, right? Once you understand what this does and how it can do it, like you never go back to the 1031 exchange unless you have a perfect deal lined up that you would have bought anyways, right? And it's like to do that, that's the commodity. It's the, people know 1031. I'll tell you the 3 things why people don't do this, okay? Number 1, everything I'm saying, your mind's exploding, right? It's too good to be true. Jason and Ian have been doing this for so long. They're the best in the business. They have the smartest people. How do they have they not heard about this thing? Or, is it really real? Like, what's the thing? So let me give you some stuff here. Number 1, thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions, close to 30-year track record, billions and billions and billions of assets sold using it, and over about 2.5 dozen audits. So the track record's there. It's simply an installment sale with a business trust, okay? And it's like you report it on the exact same installment sale that if you did an installment sale, Jason, just with Ian by yourself, it's the same form you report it with how you report ours, okay? Never been on the Dirty Dozen, never been in the IRS watch list. Okay, so let's just assume you guys go, great, Brett, it's legal. I get it, it's legal. Okay, and the second thing is trustee. You got to give up some control, Jason. I'm a third-party unrelated trustee. I'm not your brother, your cousin. I wasn't the best man in your wedding, right? You've got to give up some control. What does that mean? Well, that means I need to approve of the investments. I'm not going to just do investments that you don't want to do, but you can't just do unilateral whatever you want, whenever you want, right? Because that would imply ownership, but you don't own the trust. You're owed the money. So we have to work as a team here, okay? So that's number 2. Number 3 is fees, right? We have ongoing recurring fees, about 1.5 to 2% on the AUM. And so people can say it feels expensive. Well, we'll teach you how to make it an investment and not an expense with the new depreciation schedule, with timing and diversification, with income tax deferral. We get asset protection, what we have. And so it's an entire ecosystem, if you will. It's not just a one-time setup. It's an entire team, like a fractional family office for your big exit, Jason. So those are the 3 major things that we can dive into more here. And I'm happy to also answer any other questions.
So you're really taking on like the full blown, and you hit you nailed the fee question, because I was going to ask that, because you obviously got to outperform the fee and there's going to be a cost. But even at that, so you're basically acting as, I like that, fractional family office. So
Correct.
we put this into a DST and we say, Brett, I want to buy more real estate. And then you might say, well, own that in this type of trust. So then you have longevity on the trust, right? Because I'm assuming your webs start getting pretty convoluted. Jason and I have been down some long trust conversations, not only with guests, but on a personal level. That's how this whole show started several hundred episodes later. We always had these like recurring conversations of, we are a family office. We need to be better tax planning. Sometimes it's just not worth it to even tax plan. And I guess ultimately what I'm getting at is, do you think the $1 million number, is that because that's the client you want to work with? Or is that really where you start to see insane good tax benefits in this type of structure?
Yeah, great question. It's called the pressure-free promise. Like, we never want to talk you into something, Ian or Jason, that doesn't make a good fit for you, that we would do ourselves. That's not a home run, right? And so we have found, no matter what state you're in, no matter what you're selling, $1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain means there's enough tax pain and tax liability to defer to make this thing a home run for you. The larger it gets, even the better the numbers get. Okay, so that's number one. Yeah, number two, I would say that most of, especially baby boomers these days, right? They've made their, the ones that are ultra wealthy, they have made their wealth, right? They've done that, like it's there, and they just feel trapped by this capital gains tax in their primary home. We did an $8 million primary home in Palo Alto for a seller who his kids all moved out, 6 of them moved out, and he's by himself, and all of his wealth is tied into his house, right? We did a Bitcoin, the first to ever do this with Bitcoin, a $5 million Bitcoin exit. She's worth over $100 million, worked for Google, and we exited a couple of years ago and deferred $1.85 million of tax. Now, that money funded the next business venture. That's a Khan Academy, online academy for kids. That was her passion. So we always start with, like, what's your mission, vision, values for your wealth and your family? If you're an entrepreneur, what's your next business venture that you want to do? And then how do we become very, very efficient? Now, to answer your question about simplicity, what's so beautiful with the Deferred Sales Trust and how we've set it up is we do all of the heavy lifting. All you need to do is report your sales and installment sale, which, by the way, our tax attorneys work with you guys on how to report it. It's simple. Number two, as you get interest payments, you give them a 1099. Simple. Like, so we actually simplify your entire estate plan with ours. A lot of people get these really complex trusts with all this stuff. Our side is we're doing 99% of the heavy lift. You guys' side is simple. Now, if you want to do a joint venture partner with the trust, you can set up an LLC just like you probably do now. And instead of having to get 10 other investors at $100,000 each, you get the trust that owes you $1 million to be the silent joint venture partner. And it's kind of like you borrowed from it. You can't technically borrow from the trust because it's a taxable event, but this trust goes into an LLC with you, Ian, where you're the managing member, you're putting the sweat equity, you're doing all the stuff you already would have been doing with your real estate stuff. The trust is a silent partner, gets a preferred return. And watch this. We mirror the promissory note. So if we made it 9, we'll make it 9 for yours, Ian, but we give you 80% of the upside. So you don't put any money in, the trust puts the $1 million in, and let's say you take that real estate deal to $3 million over a couple of years, right? What happens? The trust gets its $1 million back plus the preferred return, which owes you the money anyways, right? This is all non-taxable at this point. And the upside can be promissory note number 2, or you can just pay the tax on that and take it, okay? So it's an 80-20 split on the upside, and you can purchase an option to get 98%. So again, it's not a one side, it's not just a simple answer. I'd want to sit down and map it out and see, what is Ian already investing into? What is his income tax deferral situation? He's in Philadelphia. It's a high income tax state. Well, maybe this year Ian's having a huge year and we're going to keep the trust turned off from paying him and let the accrued interest compound. But then next year he's having a down year. We're going to turn the trust on, Ian, and we're going to make it pay you what you need, right? And vice versa. We're going to make an income tax deferral play. And then the third one is the new depreciation schedule. And this is probably the most powerful one that I'm saying here today, right? We call this tax flow, not just cash flow. The problem with most real estate investors or even professionals like you guys is we focus too much on cash flow, and we don't have a cash flow mindset, tax flow mindset, and debt flow mindset. We took debt for granted a couple of years ago and people are getting crushed, right? Not unless you're in the debt game like Jason, you probably already knew it and now you're making a ton of money. But that's the point. How do we shift in between these three things and see investments as a 3D approach? And so on the exit of these assets, we're going to look at all three of those for you too, Ian, and for Jason. And we're going to say, how do we optimize this? We're going to work your CPA, your financial advisor, again, fractional family office. But we're going to do it with a vehicle that's like a Ferrari, right? Or whatever your favorite car is or truck is. We're probably more like a rugged expedition, right? We can cruise or we can like smash, right? Like this thing is sweet. Like it's not just in a box. Is that helping you guys at all?
Yeah. So in those examples that you gave earlier, when that person, whatever, they're investing in a new business.
Yeah.
Was that new business that they invested in, was the owner of that new business the trust, or did the trust in essence lend money / passively invest in that new business entity?
The answer is the latter. It passively invests as a silent joint venture partner, but the trust owes you the money anyways, Jason, right? And the preferred return is mirrored on that, right? And it will ask for a 20% ownership. You can trust. Yeah, the trust will ask for a 20% ownership, right, on the LLC that's purchased, but you get 80% of the ownership. So let me give you actual deal, okay? I had a client close a $3 million business in Tennessee, okay? He wanted to build 28 multifamily units in Tennessee too as well. So he sold the business, deferred the tax, and he used a portion of the funds to help develop. This is key, right? You can't even 1031 develop at all, right? Because it's not equal or greater value. So we have deferred the tax on the business sale and used those funds to use to build 28 units, all tax deferred, okay? Those funds that went into this LLC with him, he already has 80% of the upside, but the trust put all of the money in, okay? The trust gets a preferred return plus its original money back when it sells, but the upside is split 80-20, 80% to him, 20% to the trust. We keep this what's called commercially reasonable. These are all these little things that are in place to make this thing compliant when we go to the IRS and been through all of the audits to make sure we stay within the guardrails of what's called commercially reasonable business purpose. Okay, this is why you can't lend from it. You can't lend something. The government doesn't want you to basically get a loan from something that's already owed to them. That breaks the essence of what we're doing here. So we don't loan. It's a joint venture partnership. And by the way, he got a new depreciation schedule on that, right? He had a business that had no depreciation, and then he gets a new depreciation schedule, tax deferred. This is the part I wanted to finish real fast, right? Tax flow offsets your cash flow. Depreciation is massive, but when you run out of it, guess what? You're losing one of the number one reasons to own investment real estate. So we want to have a tax flow depreciation mindset. One of the downsides of Jason in your debt fund is there's no depreciation. Maybe one of the upsides with Ian is he has depreciation, right? So you need both. You need both, right? At different times. But there's times when you want to sell the high equity position and then focus like a laser on massive cash flow and then turn around and wait for the real estate basis to drop, which we did. We bought a deal at $68,000 a unit, 375 units in Tennessee. We love it, right? This deal is easily going to double in 5 years, right? It's going to make 5%, year in and year out for the next couple of years, and then about 9%. But we think the basis is easily half of what it really is going to be. But the point is, we did it here in the last 6 months, but we didn't do that 3 years ago when the values were so high. And so this trust really gives you it's like a time machine. It gives you a chance to sell high, buy low, diversify, and reset the depreciation schedule. And then at this point, people's heads explode and they're just like, there's no way. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't think so either. I was at Marcus and Millichap. We thought we were the Navy SEALs of multifamily real estate. We were doing the 1031s and we got humbled in the 2008 crash. And we said, there's got to be a better way than just forcing people into these 1031, shotgun weddings. And that's when I started to study and practice this part of the tax code and how this works. And fast forward the 10,000 hours and all of the deals we've closed, we have perfected the system and the process to do this. But it does take you, working with us to execute on this.
Yeah. And the commercial, that was kind of my question, was the commercially reasonable statement, which you guys as the trustee kind of have to determine on a deal by deal basis. So
yeah, what would two unrelated parties, not us, what would two unrelated parties do in a given transaction? Like if Jason were to do a deal with random person, would he do 25% loan? Probably not. Would he do 8 to 12? Probably, right? Would he do a 10-year term? Probably. Would he do a 100-year term? No. So these are all certain parameters that we have found. It's not like it's going to be written in the IRS tax code. You can only do installments. Yeah. Okay.
It's the reasonable side. Obviously they don't want you as an individual to personally, benefit from, you're hacking the code.
Correct.
Hacking
so let me play that out. So you can't go and put the JV LLC investment into a primary home.
Yeah.
That's what that looks. That's taxable, but it can be a business or investment property. And why would the IRS allow this, Ian? The reason is because it spurs economic growth. It's a study of macroeconomics. If we can keep money flowing and working, it actually creates more jobs, creates more housing. And we believe over the next 15 years, it's the largest wealth transfer in the history of the planet. 84 to 100 trillion that's transferring. And this is an opportunity for us as professionals as we are to help clients steward their wealth in a way that makes an impact for definitely the housing, the housing crisis, right? If we can have a percentage of that 84 trillion tax deferred and unlocked to fund and build apartments and houses, we can end the housing crisis. But if that money is locked and not moving and stagnant, or just taxed and wasted away with what we've seen with the government here recently, they're the worst, right? So it's the battle of the wealth of America. We're in the what's called the reverse Tea Party, guys. 250 years ago, we fought for freedom and rights with equitable taxation. The other side of it now, we've built more wealth in the history of the planet ever, and it's the same thing happening. It's going to all transfer, most of it, in the next 15 years. And the question is, will it be in the hands of the people who can actually solve the problems, or it'll be in the hands of the government who's going to just waste it away? And so this is part of where we're battling, right? And so you guys have now heard it. You can't unsee or unheard what you just heard. The question is, will you become a believer versus just I call it get in the arena, right? Get in the arena versus the critic who throws the rocks. I'm like, we just keep closing deals. We just keep closing deals, and we want every real estate person to know about this. But I battle against 1031 companies. I still battle against real estate agents who just think it can't be true and won't work. And I just go, we just closed a $13 million deal in San Diego, a $45 million deal in Texas, right? An $8 million deal in Massachusetts. Like, we just keep closing them and showing people that it works, but it takes these type of podcasts to get the message out. So I know I'm kind of preaching, fellas. I'm pretty passionate about it. So I hope everyone's appreciating it.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is awesome. I heard it one other time early on in my real estate investment career. Guys like, oh, I'm going to sell it on an installment sale. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. He's like, yeah, but I'll save all these taxes. And I couldn't put two and two together and figure out what it all was. And here it is. This is it. So served up.
Can I compare that real fast? I'm sorry. I got to get this because I'm here to get this. On a regular installment sale, what's the problem with not just doing a regular installment sale? The problem with a regular installment sale is all of your collateral is tied to the old property. It's great for the buyer, by the way. He doesn't have to get financing. He probably gets a lower rate, no closing costs, all of that stuff. But all of your equity is tied to the old property. That means you cannot really harvest what you want. And usually it's like 5 or 6 or maybe 7%. In our scenario, we are harvesting it without having the tax deferral. We have all the flexibility to go make more money. That is the big piece here. So we're using traditional installment sale reporting, which goes back over 100 years. We're just being creative on how we apply it with a third-party trustee.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll definitely I'm reaching out here shortly because we're working on some sales as we speak. So that's exciting, and it's good to know that you don't need to remain in partnerships in the 1031 BS. I was like, yeah, whatever. I was literally just having this conversation this morning. Fuck it, just pay the taxes, keep it moving. But not when something like this is served up, it makes much more sense. So with all that being said, man, that was a lot of information to digest. How about you, Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to be the skeptic. Be like, I need more.
I don't have big exits in my business. I don't have exits. I churn and burn deals over and over and over and over every day. We obviously I invest as a syndicate. I invest as an LP in dozens and dozens of deals. But like you have a lot more exits, Ian. On them.
Jason, do you have a fund model, or is it like individual first trust deal?
Yeah, I do direct placement.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, dude, I'm excited. Where's the best? I saw BrettSwarts.com is the best place you can find out about the best 1031 exit plan. Is that right? Yeah.
You can find out about the Deferred Sales Trust, the best 1031 exit plan, which real quick for those who are wondering what that is. If you want to go for a 1031, like we're all for that, just make sure you have a backup plan in case it fails. So we can save a failed 1031 It doesn't take up any of your spots, So if people use like the three property rule. This doesn't take up any of your spots, and we can save it. But you need to work with us with that 1031 and with our strategic alliance, who does this collectively with all of the documents set. Okay, so that's the best 1031 exit plan. And then if you have a business, Bitcoin, or anything else, and you want to just not even use the 1031, just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to schedule a consultation with myself, one of my team members. But yeah, and you can also pick up the book. We got the book if you guys heard of that guy named Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. So he's in the book, and we hit Amazon bestseller, which is kind of cool. It's called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. You build all your wealth for 5, 10, 50 years. Once you spend 5 hours with us to build a plan to have an extra 20, 30, 40, 50%, change your life. And with all that, we have amazing clients and testimonials. You can go to our YouTube channel and check all that out as well.
Jason, you see the color of that book?
What's that?
Did you see the color of the book and the type text?
Yeah.
Who
did? Looks like a few different books that I've done.
Sorry, go ahead.
Who? Just out of curiosity, who published that? Rob Cosper.
So this is Seth Green.
Seth Green.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Just curious. Rob Cosper lives in your market.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And he owns Bestseller Publishing, and the other reason I ask is he's done some ventures with Kevin Harrington.
Oh, that's cool.
I used to be in Russell Brunson's mastermind group with
oh, nice.
Or not with Russell, with Rob, and he was living in California. Now about 5 years ago, he's in the same city that you're in.
This guy must be a smart guy,
He moved down.
Get out of Cali and get over here.
Yeah. He's a little bit older than us, and his kids had as soon as his kids graduated high school, he left California.
He's gone. Yeah.
There you go.
So now he's in your neck of the woods. What? Just out of curiosity, how long does the process take for this?
We move at the speed of trust, and every deal is a little bit different. So the answer is it all depends, right? And, if you have a major M&A, business sale with all these attorneys and all the folks, all the things, like we like to be there early because we don't want to feel like we're throwing something new at the last minute. So ideally, most people find us prior to listing the property or they got the offer, but they haven't gone under contract yet. We work on a conditional basis. This is the best part, okay? You don't want to use it, no problem. You don't pay us anything. But we need to put some option language inside of your contract to give you the option to be able to do this. And then we only get paid at the close of escrow. So that's how that works. Second, if you're going for the 1031, again, you work with us, then we can do within the 1031 timeframe, within the 45-day basically window, potentially 180 depending on your thing there. When is it too late? It's too late when the deal's already closed, the money's sitting in your personal or business account, it's over, right? So ideally, before you go under contract, ideally, before the buyer removes all contingencies, these are some of the things, but get with us and we'll let you know if it's not too late yet.
Got it. All right. Well, that's exciting, mind-blowing information. We told you guys you would learn something. And if you did, make sure you share the show. Brett already gave it. We'll get all the information in the share notes. Brett, one more time, you want to let everyone know where they can find you on the interwebs.
Yeah.
And we will get out of here.
Yeah. BrettSwarts.com. That's spelled SWARTS. That Z is definitely appetizing, but it's an S and it's 2 T's. Or just search Capital Gains Tax Solutions, Capital Gains Tax Solutions, and it's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com.
Got it. All right, we'll get all that in the show notes. Guys, if you got any value out of this, please feel free to share the show. I know I will be sharing it because I just got a ton of value and will be executing on this plan potentially here very shortly. This was way better than this trust talks of you need this trust and that trust and own this one and move that today, tomorrow. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And with that being said, guys, we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve Podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.